G'day guys, welcome back to New Dollarton. So in the last episode, I mentioned that I wanted to build a big elevated expressway that stretched throughout the city, but I actually think we need to do a couple of things before we build such a big piece of infrastructure. First of all, I think we need to add just a couple of extra neighborhoods just to add to the sprawl and really justify that freeway cutting through our city, but I also think that we might be jumping the gun just a little bit because New Dimesburg doesn't even really have any major roads at this stage. We do have a couple of multi-lane roads here and there, but nothing that really reflects the type of city that we're building. And that has been intentional. I wanted to build these small roads, get them to a breaking point, and then we'd start upgrading them when we needed to. Well, I think we need to. These roads are definitely a breaking point. But I reckon we break them even more. We add in some extra neighborhoods, we fix up these roads and get people flowing around the city even better. And we'll also add in some public transport because we don't have any of that. And let's not forget, I also almost completely destroy the city. Yeah, I also do that. We'll get to that though. Let's build this neighborhood. Now, this neighborhood is a bit of an interesting one. It sits up on this plateau. It is a little isolated from the rest of the grid, which I kind of like. It's doing its own thing, which I think just makes things a little bit more interesting, and I've been kind of keen to work up here. So we're going to be building up in this area today, and what is this? So when I built our train yard a couple of weeks ago, I did place down some train bits and pieces, some hoppers up here just to see if I could delete them, and I couldn't, which means that we're going to be stuck with them. So whatever we build, we're going to have to make some room for these guys. I didn't really plan to build anything with train lines, so yeah, should make things a bit more interesting. I wanted to figure out a little bit more of the terraforming around here, just making some areas for the main roads to snake their way up, because it is kind of high. Only a couple of these roads are actually going to make the journey up here, and I think these ones are probably going to make the most amount of sense. And with that, it was time to start planning out the main bulk of this grid. The main roads here, they are influenced by the cliff face and the contours of the land, but then the grid layout is still mostly influenced by the rest of the city. It is a bit skewed, it's a bit different, but still has that influence, which I think is kind of important. I'm also trying to figure out what the rest of the grid is going to look like over here, but I have to admit I'm struggling because I'm thinking I might change a lot of the landscape around here, but I'll talk a bit more about that in the live play. I wanted to get to zoning, something that I do really enjoy thinking about in this game, trying to figure out where the different zone types are going to be sitting and trying to do it in a pretty realistic way. For the most part, I think the zoning in this game is pretty good, like I enjoy it. It's a bit fiddly in places, and I'm looking forward to some mods that give you a little bit more control. And in terms of the buildings, I'm pretty done with them. Like I'm just zoning whatever at the moment. I used to really try hard to get some good growables grown in certain areas, but I'm putting less effort into it these days because I'm just holding out for an asset editor or just some sort of free content that gives you some more variation, because I'm pretty done with these buildings and they don't totally represent the types of places I want to be building. So I'm waiting for something else. But hey, people will move in no matter what, no matter how this place looks, and even function. I mean, this place is barely serviced with any of the basic services of the city. There's no healthcare, there's no education, and crime. Don't even get me started on crime. The crime up here is, it ain't good. And people, I mean, it reflects in the people. People are unhappy and worried. Actually, I take that back. Not everyone is unhappy about security. This guy is really happy about his privacy and security. That's interesting.
Why would you be worried about security, big guy in the sky? I use today's video sponsor NordVPN. A virtual private network, or VPN for short, is a service that gives you safe and private access to the internet. With one click of a button, my connection is now encrypted with NordVPN hiding my online activity from those spying eyes. One such attack is known as man in the middle. It occurs when using Wi-Fi networks, especially free public ones. Your network can be compromised by criminals intercepting your data. But not mine, buddy. It's encrypted by NordVPN. Because a little bit of privacy is always nice, you know?
Not much of a thanks for someone who just built you a house.
NordVPN also protects your passwords, especially those simple loosey-goosey ones you make or that one password you use on multiple accounts. You can turn on Dark Web Monitor to get alerts about your credentials anytime they appear on underground hacker websites. Use the free NordPass password manager to generate and automatically fill in those strong passwords. With less time thinking up strong passwords, let you get back to doing the things you love most. And let's not forget about malware. Any file can harbor viruses, trojans, worms, and keyloggers. Once your device is infected, malware can steal, destroy, or even ransom your data. Ugh. Threat Protection scans files for malware as they're being downloaded. It also warns you about dangerous websites where such files are usually found. And with one account, protecting up to 10 devices, I can use NordVPN on all my home devices, protecting not just me, but also my beautiful family. If all that sounds good, then why not give NordVPN a try? Get an exclusive deal with 4 months extra at nordvpn.com/$2.20. It's risk-free with Nord's 30-day money-back guarantee. Thanks NordVPN for sponsoring today's video.
Whoa, that is a good deal.
Dude, what are you still doing here? Don't you have other things to be doing right now?
Yeah, suppose you're right. Should probably get back to it. Wait, what's this? Oh, not this message again. Oh, this is gonna ruin everything.
What was that sound? Should I be worried about that?
No, I'll fix it.
Well, it sounds like you could use NordVPN's threat protection.
No. We're finished with that.
Okay, sure.
Yeah, I mean, no offense, but you're done. I mean, look at you. You pulled that shirt out of the dirty laundry just to record this segment. Your face, it's like 10 days worth of growth. We're done. You're through. Like, go home.
Alright, see ya. Good luck.
Yeah. Good seeing you, Drew. See ya. Alright, let's do this. Now, I'm not being dramatic when I say that this almost broke the city. This actually did break the city, but I was able to fix the problem and work through it, and we are now at a good place. But we were not at a good place a couple of weeks ago. This was very stressful. Some of you might remember that I have had this message before. A couple of weeks ago it popped up and I was able to click through it. It took about 20 clicks. I got through it. I lost a couple of thousand people and that was kind of it. Nothing really ended up happening with it. So this message was similar, except I could click through it once, and once I clicked it, I lost about 20,000 people. And the performance completely dropped. It went to about 1 frame every 5 seconds, so it was super sluggish, absolutely brutal to fly around. But the worst thing to happen was 90% of buildings lost their connection to the road. They were complaining about no pedestrian access, even though they did have pedestrian access not long ago. They were no longer connected, and this is where the performance loss was basically taking place. It wasn't until I started to delete buildings that the performance started to come back, but 90% of the buildings, like I'm not even joking, I had to go through every single building, either delete it or reconnect it up to the road, and slowly but surely my performance started to increase. So once I knew what the problem was, it was honestly a matter of figuring out, is this going to be worth it? Because I could revert back to an old save, but it was like a really old save before our central station, before those wharves. Basically everything that I was really proud of building, I was going to lose. And I was like, okay, is this going to be worth it? Because I'm looking at many hours of reconnecting up. Well, I mean, you can tell what I've done here. I've reconnected up every single building, and people are slowly trickling back. But geez Louise, ladies and gentlemen, this was an absolute close call. Unfortunately, we are back. We are back. The game is working. It's more stable than ever. New Dimesburg is saved. A couple of people have left, but they will trickle back in, and I am confident that it is back for good. Now, what was the problem? First of all, I'm building a train line down here. This is kind of cool. I'll talk about this in a second, but let's talk about this. What happened to my save? Well, who can I blame? Was it a mod? Was it the game? It was me. So I don't think this is something that you guys could encounter. This is purely something that is unique to my situation. It's because I've had the game for a while now. I've had early access to the game, and I've got multiple versions saved on my computer, and I've also been tweaking things. I've changed code because I wanted to get into the asset editor earlier. Remember when I built new Dollarton? I dived into that, and installing early versions of mods, and it's not the mod's fault, it's purely me saving in the wrong location, and then somehow saving New Dollarton on an early version of City Skylines 2. So that's where the main problem is. But I've basically just confused everything and was saving it in the wrong spot on the wrong game, and then switching it to the public one, the one that I should be saving on, then completely stuffed things up and pretty much just had to get New Dollarton back up to speed. And I guess that's why it's been simulation errors, because, you know, I've been messing around in simulation. The game has not been the right version, but now that it is, I have reinstalled City Skylines 2. Took 8 hours because it's massive and I'm using Australian internet, which is super slow. But we are back, and I think things are back to normal. I think we're all fine and dandy. One thing though that I'm still figuring out, and I know what to do, but I'm still working on it, is all my train connections got all screwed up. Somehow there is I can't drag out a new route, and all my old ones got all stuck. So I've deleted all those old ones, and I'm only able to drag out new ones by, first of all, figuring out where that disconnection is on our network by trying to figure out where that route is going to go, and then I have to delete that segment, and then I can drag out that route again. And yeah, so it's a bit of a process. As you can imagine, I do have a lot of train lines, so I am slowly doing that. Not all of the train line is completely messed up, only certain sections, so I'm not going to delete all of it, just little parts of it. So I do just want to say a really big thank you to everybody who reached out. There were a lot of people who were offering their help, so I really appreciate it. TDW, thank you very much for your support, as well as Sully and Bad Peanut. There's a lot of people to thank, so I do really appreciate it. But in terms of what we've been up to, I've been working on a couple of train lines that just snake around our neighborhood, but I think that this is probably best explored in a live play. Plus, we do have some more things to build. Alright, okie dokes. Everyone, definitely a weird episode. I'm going to acknowledge that. It's a weird one. This has been something that I've been working on for way longer than any other video, and I feel like I've barely gotten anything done. I've just spent 2 days trying to fix this save, and it feels fixed. I know the rail line still needs a little bit of work, but it feels fixed and working and great. Just real quick, and I know I bring up graphics every single time I dive into this game, especially into a live play, but volumetric clouds. What are your thoughts on this? Because I love them, but then I also don't. Like, I really wish that they existed, but then when you zoomed in close, they disappeared so that you could actually see what you're building in daylight without it being in a giant shadow. But then I also like it because it gives this really nice effect as it creeps over your city. Look at that. Oh, that's nice. But where I'm building, no. So I'm just going to leave them on, and I'm just going to see what happens. Also, my new residential building of choice, I have now switched to only really zoning these guys, these waterfront houses. I know these guys aren't really near the water, but I actually think these models are just way better. But let me just talk about a little bit of this train line. So we now have this train line, and it snakes all from this area. It's a pretty thick guy, and I'm kind of like tossing up between potentially keeping this abandoned, or maybe this is the line that stretches all the way to Pennyville, which is our little town that is out in the sticks. So this could be our connection to Pennyville. I was always anticipating building something like that. So for this one, we could actually have some sort of connection to our central station. Yeah, it's a little bit messed up at the moment. I'll fix him, don't worry. But we could have some sort of connection, so I'm trying to figure out what that could look like. It might need to do a bit of a like that, because I think that's going to be too sharp and too much of a, I don't think that's going to work. So if you've got some ideas about that, please let me know. But this side in particular is going to be definitely abandoned. I'm going to keep this one not in use, and I do have some other plans for this at a later stage, but that's for a later stage. We'll just keep them there for now. And can I just say, I really love our double bridge situation. I think this looks really cool, and I love the fact that there's only a handful of roads that are actually making their journey over this way. And this is probably overkill. I don't really need two, probably, but as you can see, we do have a fair few people using it, so I think that it's somewhat justified, but I just think it looks kind of cool. But I just want to draw your attention to this section. because I mentioned that I didn't really know what else to do with this neighborhood that we were stretching out. I need this area to feel unique and different and have a bit of a storyline behind it. I don't want it just to be another sprawling suburb. You know, each one of these places has kind of got its own thing going on. And I also kind of feel like we've got more land than I really needed. Kind of think that I can maybe dwindle this down a little bit. So as just a bit of an insight, I'm thinking about moving this river much closer to this section, and this guy who snakes around here, I think that all this might even stretch a bit further around here. Just some ideas, just because I think the scale of the place could be just brought back a little bit, you know, not quite as big. Definitely don't need this much space. I'm really holding off doing too much nature stuff. I really am. You know, that's what I want to do. I really want to get into this area, but now I kind of want to do it. No, don't do it. Focus on the things that are already great in this game. And that's the roads. I think the roads are great. So I'm going to keep on making great roads. No, hold on. I'm not up to the roads yet. I need to make this place look just so much better because it's bare bones at the moment. Got a couple of ideas. Hold on. What? Wait. What? Oh my. No. Why are you all disappearing? What is honestly going on right now? Oh god, this is devastating. I've completely lost all my population. Wait, why is this yellow? Okay, somehow every single zone in my city has gone to industry. Why has that happened? Oh, I seriously thought I fixed all this. I don't know what else to do. This is so frustrating. When I loaded in the save, I felt like something was a little bit off. I didn't think that the zoning was quite right. I don't know, maybe a mod didn't load in properly or something like that. Oh, hold on. What happens if I just go back to an old save? Okay, yeah. So I don't think a mod quite loaded in properly. I was messing around with some settings, but honestly, I didn't think I was going to be doing anything too bad. But this works. Although I've lost everything that I just built down here. You know what? Stuff this. Yeah, nah, I'm out. That's enough for City Skylines for today. For this week, I'm finished. All right, I'm out of here. Okie dokie. It's a brand new week. I've had the weekend off, well, sort of, and I'm ready to get back into this. I've done some work down here, so some things are back. Some things are slightly changed. I think it's looking pretty cool down here. And we've also done a live stream where we've started to work on a little bus terminal down here. So I'm kind of keen to finish that off. So I have gone through and created this area again, this school, which I felt like we definitely needed. And it's a good fit for this area. So some things are kind of the same. Some things are a bit different. This is kind of like meant to be a bit of a field. In fact, we could probably do a little bit better. We could actually put in some of these little guys. You know, I feel like this... Oh, actually, hold on. Ooh. Nah, I think that's overkill. But just little details like that. I feel like this area is looking pretty cool right now. And the rest of this little neighborhood, which we still need to name up. We've also got a police station down here and a clinic. And I've just sort of expanded out these areas by adding in some parking and also just squeezing in some other little bits and pieces. And just using the better bulldozer tool just to remove some props that I really didn't like. I feel like a lot of those buildings come with some very randomly placed trees, so it's always good to remove them using better bulldozer and just like putting in a couple little bits and pieces. But we do have a whole lot more single family houses around here, which I feel like it's always kind of fun doing that transition from the heart of the city where we kind of go from all this medium density to the row houses, and then we now have a whole bunch of these single family houses, which is always kind of fun to see. So I've been putting a whole bunch of these waterfront houses and I think they work super well. So I'm going to continue doing a lot of them. And there are a couple of apartments still scattered here and there. These are pretty random, but whatever. But I actually feel like this little corner of the neighborhood is turning out to be one of my favorite. It's a bit more upper class. We do have some very nice houses around here. And I've also added in some really large ones, a couple of mansions. I have removed some of those props that sat in here and just like changed where the fence sat. And I feel like it looks kind of cool because it's a little bit more interesting. Get out of there. Get out of there. And the same with this one. And you can also probably tell that the cliff has also been a little bit more detailed too. I still need to do a little bit more work around it, but I feel like the surface around here is adding a lot to the area. So really happy with that. And that's this area. But we still need to work on this guy. So what I've done here is I have integrated these carriages as part of this hotel, which I'm imagining this is a hotel. I don't think this is actually functioning as a hotel. It is a commercial district or commercial building. And what I like about this is that it's already at its fullest level, which means it won't change, which is excellent because I don't want it to change. I like it the way it is. If I could make this historical, I totally would. But that's what I'm imagining. I'm imagining this is a hotel and these carriages are kind of part of it. It's all part of the same property. I still can't figure out whether or not this is something that is being placed here. You know, they have put them up here. This was never any sort of train line. Or maybe it was. I don't know. I'm just going to zoom out. Like, what do you think? I can like almost imagine a path that kind of snakes around here, but also sort of feel like it's a little hard to justify. Okay, you got me. I'm back on board. I went from being really disappointed with this game to just being back, totally back. I mean, that's quite lovely. The fact that we've got this, oh man, that is really lovely. I'm not gonna lie. I love that. So if you missed the live stream on the weekend, we created this little bus terminal. This is all custom. So we've got buses that come in and then they stop at each one of these little stops, which are all custom as well. People decided that we go for a fancy one. So that's what we got here. And it's actually functioning beautifully. If you can just have a little look, people are entering on the right side. They use a crossing down here. Buses stop for them. Stop for them. Yeah, they stop for them. It's all one way, so you kind of go through here, which I think works pretty well. And of course, there are some flaws. You know, it would be better if this was on that side to stop people from crossing the street here. But, you know, we don't live in an ideal city here. This is something that has kind of been built around old infrastructure. I reckon this has not always been here. But that doesn't mean that we can't make some improvements. As you can see, the taxi stand is a little out of control. We've got like 2 people getting in each taxi at a time, and this isn't ideal. So I've actually got an idea, and I can't really take credit for this. This was a suggestion from Hiro, which is one of my patrons, and he sent through a little idea and said, hey, how about this? And he's right. Let's do that. And then by integrating it into Sunnyside Street, it'll stop people from queuing across here, which was causing some problems. Plus, I don't think this is very ideal. I think this is just not working. So I'm going to try to do something a little bit sneaky as well. So what I'm attempting to do here is I'm going to make this section a little bit wider, just so that it is kind of like stretching out as we have room for that taxi section. So hopefully if I do that, I'll just put a little segment in here. Can I delete it? Yes, I can. See, look at that. And then now what I'm going to do is I think I'm going to place a couple of these, but I think I'll probably do I might do 3, like over on this section. And that's probably overkill, but hopefully we'll actually get taxis kind of sitting here as people line up and wait for a taxi to pick them up. There should be a big bulk of people waiting here and maybe potentially a line or maybe a bit of a queue. I don't know. Let's see if it works. Did you see all those taxis lining up? That is so cool. I love that. Now, there are quite a lot of people using our taxis, way more than people trying to use our buses. So I think I need to lower the taxi fare? Question mark? Is that a thing? It's probably a thing. Geez, I had to Google it, but I found it. City info, city policies, taxi minimum fare. I feel like this is not where you should be putting this, but this is where it is. Should probably be here, but that's okay. I'm going to increase it by double. We're going to go for $20. I think. Let me think about this. Do I want to see less people catching the taxi? Or do I just want to see less people down here? Or maybe I want to see more taxis. Those 2 garages have added 10 more taxis to our fleet, but I reckon we can do much better than that. I'm going to add in a couple more depots. Quite a lot more, actually. I want to see a lot of them driving around. A lot of yellow taxis. I think that'd be really, really cool. My game just crashed. Man, I tell you what, is this episode ever gonna be finished? I have been recording this for such a long time and things are just going wrong, left, right, and center. I feel like it's Groundhog Day. I'm just repeating myself constantly. All right, it's back. We're back to where we were. I'm getting pretty sick of just rebuilding things over and over again. I feel like that is the theme for this episode. I also feel like I've had more fun recording the ad segment than anything else, but hey, we are making some progress and this probably does look a little better than before. I hate to admit it because it was painful, but I think it does look better. What I really like is when you use Anarchy, you can splice in some of these buildings, and I also feel like the extensions are working really nicely. I've also used Find It to place down, this is our park maintenance depot. It's like an extra garage that we can't usually place down, but because I'm using Find It, I can just place that down. I don't think it's doing anything besides adding in some noise pollution and cost me money, but it looks pretty cool. And then I've also spliced in an extra building in here. This is a bus depot extra garage, but I've kind of just like placed it amongst my taxi depot just to kind of create some variation, and I think that looks pretty cool. But that does look pretty sick down there. I like that it's its own industrial little block, and you can really tell that it's serving the purpose for adding extra taxis to our city, which I think is quite nice, and it's actually adding quite a lot. There are a lot of taxis now in our fleet. I think nearly 100. So with all those extra taxis now on the streets, we've also got our buses too. I think our streets are probably, yeah, they're struggling. They're super struggling. And when it comes to these road upgrades, I am, of course, like trying to encourage and increase the traffic flow, but for me, it's also about the aesthetic of having some roads that are the main roads that stretch throughout the city, the ones that have the most volume of traffic, but then also just seeing how they are upgraded and changed and just slightly larger than some of the others. Because we've only got really small roads, we do have a couple of larger ones. You know, this one down here, Hillside Avenue, pretty appropriate name. I feel like this was a different name before, but it might have changed as we've been upgrading. But this guy, I feel like, is a good representation of one of the main roads within New Dimesburg as it stretches all across this area here. It's already fairly dense and we do have quite a bit of people using it at the moment, but it's like one of the main roads, you know, you can really see its destination and you can really see its path too. So I like it. I feel like it works well. We've also got King Street. King Street is another road. It's probably changed its name, hasn't it? Robin Street, get out of here. We'll have to change him back at some stage. But King Street is also another massive one. It stretches all throughout here and through the heart of New Dimesburg, and then stretches along this little section and then goes to our industry, which is something that is very important. So that is one we definitely need to upgrade. And then the other one that I'm most interested in doing is, Cypress is not so bad. King Street, you're not meant to be King Street. Ah yes, Florence Boulevard, that's the other one. We're going to improve that one. But first, I just want to make some slight improvements to Hillside Avenue. First of all, it's really bumper to bumper. You know, if you are trying to get from our outside connection and trying to get all the way into New Dimesburg, you are just sitting at traffic lights or waiting for people to cross the road. So let's actually remove some of them. With our new taxi depot over here and so many vehicles having to use it, as well as what is becoming a pretty bustling and only ever increasing industrial section, I think we need to make some improvements to this intersection. And I actually think we can do this pretty easily. At the moment, we've just got one lane that is able to turn left and quite a lot of vehicles wanted to do so. So I think it's a pretty easy fix. And it's for sure going to look like overkill, but I do think it's necessary. So now we have two lanes able to turn left, and we've got this little section over here, which is a little bit strange, but I think we can do the same thing as we've done here and add in a bit of a slip lane. Instead, I've just turned this into a 4-lane highway, and I mean, let's see what happens here. This is kind of interesting. I feel like this looks a little bit more suited for the area. I'll see if I like them going straight into this road. I feel like it's unnecessary, but let's just speed it up and see if things get a little bit better, maybe. Yeah, it's still pretty chaotic here, but I honestly think it's probably about as good as it's ever gonna get. At least as good as I'm gonna let it get. Mostly because I don't really want to upgrade these roads anymore, and I don't think the policies and the things that I'm putting in place are really being followed that well. As you can see, not all vehicles, like I don't love it that these guys are turning left as these guys are going straight. That shouldn't really happen, and if we had better control, I'd obviously stop that, and I think that a lot of this problem would stop. And I honestly don't mind seeing these roads busy because I think it just adds more to the atmosphere of the city rather than it just having absolutely smooth traffic flow. I just feel like that's not quite that realistic in an area like this. So I feel like the infrastructure now reflects what should be good. I just don't think City Skylines is really doing what it should be doing. And an extra lane along here would really improve things, but I am not that willing to do that because I like to keep this as an older road. We're going to be making this into maybe even a custom bridge. I don't know. We'll see what happens. But this is like an old bridge. I don't really want to be changing that too much. If anything, we'll add a highway at some stage, probably next episode, that's going to be stretching across here, and that will relieve a lot of the pressure around here. But for now, this is, it's fine. It's fine. All through here, I have gone through and made it so that we've got better policies that stop vehicles from turning at every single intersection or even having to stop at every intersection. And I think that's going to make a whole bunch of improvements. Obviously, some areas we still have some stopping, but I think that kind of works in an area like this. And then it forks off and goes into this area, and that's wonderful. All right, next one, King Street. All right. This little guy gets busy all the time. And now that we have this transport hub up here that's only increasing with usage, we're going to really need to make some improvements here. And a lot of buses too. I'm going to start by upgrading this section under the tracks. I'm not going to go too thick because I feel like that's going to be a stretch anyway. And I don't really want to go too far into some of these sections, but I will make it so that you can't park underneath here. I do think it's going to be really useful for vehicles to turn left because that's going to be a road that goes into our downtown. So, well, at least another way you can get into our downtown. So what I'm going to do is I want you to be going that way. And then all through here, I think we're going to get real thick. Oh yeah. So quite a few upgrades to King Street. It has done an absolute number on a lot of the growables within the city, but you know, I guess that kind of happens, right? I've also done a little bit of upgrading to some of the other roads that are around here, just adding in an extra lane or two, particularly around our central station. Because we have no access around here, it means that the connections, our intersections to King Street have to be pretty solid. But I just love the way that it looks now. I love that it's a little bit wider and really just shows that it is a main road and getting people pretty well into the city. I love that. Something that has come up and something that I've been thinking about is I think that a lot of these upgrades and widening of the roads is just going to happen when we start adding in the highway, because I'm realizing that areas like this I think is going to be a perfect connection to a highway, as it has a whole bunch of ramps that connect up to it. And even areas like this, you know, I feel like this is an absolute mess and it's only going to get better when we start adding in some ramps. And when I say better, I mean probably worse, but I think that all those changes are going to have to happen when we start adding in that freeway. So I think that's a job for next episode. Can you see where I'm dragging out these roads? Yeah, we're causing all sorts of problems. We are losing population because people are being displaced, and all this work that I've done around some of these roads, you know, I've been putting in some hard work, trying to get the zoning all right, and it's starting to look like this, all messed up, which probably could have predicted, but far out. We're going to be making a big mess, and all I can think about is next episode where we drag out a highway. I think things are going to get super rocky. They're going to get very messed up. So I've pretty much just stuck our upgrades to the main roads running through the city. King Street obviously got a big upgrade, getting multiple lanes, but I've also done some to what was once Briarwood Boulevard. We'll have to go back and change the names when we actually have a really good idea of the path of these things. And then we've also got Hillside Street. What? Isn't this meant to be Linden? Ugh. Alright, fine, whatever. Keep on changing name on me, which is kind of annoying. But yeah, those roads I've done the most upgrades to because you can really see how strong of a path they have throughout the city. So this one in particular, I really like this little section that we've got. But I'm also kind of thinking, and this is a bit of a question to you, but I don't mind this, but I also kind of think that it maybe just follows along down here and connects at some point rather than doing this whole thing. But that's a bit of an idea. And then our new development, we need a new name for this. So if you've got some ideas, please let me know. And any ideas about our train area down here, if we can justify maybe an old abandoned line that could potentially go up there. I don't really know yet. But I also kind of just like the fact that it's just sitting there. Diane, what did you do? Oh dear. Well, our public transport is definitely improving. As you can see, quite a lot of people are using this little terminal, which is lovely. And we do have a whole bunch of these yellow taxis now driving around. I do want to keep on adding some extras. Oh man, this does look really nice, doesn't it? even though we do need to add some extra bits of detail, I'm going to leave it to you guys because I don't know what else I could really be doing. I do want to do some sort of kiosk and maybe like a bit of a park or something, but I'm still trying to figure that out. Actually, let's just kind of change one quick thing. Then we just do that. That's better. No, that's silly. There. But yeah, our bus network definitely needs some big improvements. And in fact, I'm going to just zoom out and maybe I'll do like that. Where do you think this bus network is going to go? Because I'll just drag it out wherever. Please let me know. Feel free to drag something out because I would really appreciate that. But yeah, I do think that things are starting to look pretty good down here, despite all my grumbles and being such a negative Nelly. Sorry about that. I think you can probably understand. This was an episode that just did not go to plan. And it wasn't just one thing, it was multiple things. But I do think despite that, things are starting to look pretty good. But until then, guys, have a great week. And I want to give a special shout outs to some of the people over on Patreon supporting the channel and making videos like this possible. Not videos like this. Making better videos possible. Janky Pup, Adventures, Leo Legal, Nate Dalton, Joe Picaro, Chris411 Chris, Maiko, Phil G, Josh Goring, Sully, Xavier Chung, Eric Escobar, Josh Wright, and Ben Carr. Cheers, legends, and I'll see you all in the next one.